So welcome everyone. While you're waiting or while you're listening, if you have a chance, let me know your position in your district and the grade level students you support. I'm here today. I did a couple sessions last year as well for your consortium, and I was delighted to be invited back. And if you have a chance, what is your background with Raz-Plus? Is this something that you've used in the past? You're pretty confident, but want to see if there's anything brand new. You're here, as Rebecca is, to support the multilingual learners in her program. You might be brand new and just want to learn a little about Raz-Plus. So if questions come up, you're able to answer them. I will be recording this. I'll send the recording out to Kirsten probably by tomorrow. And then she told me that last year's sessions, they were attended by about 10 educators each session I did, but she said she sent that recording out multiple times through the year. So that will go out there for you as well. So thank you for sharing your background and your positions. This is a getting started session. So it's an orientation to Raz-Plus. For those of you who are brand new, Learning A to Z is the umbrella or the company under which several programs live. And Raz-Plus being one of those programs. Another is called Vocabulary A to Z. And if you are available and want to learn about that, I'm doing a session same time next week that will focus on Vocabulary A to Z and those resources. I'm Paula. I live in Minneapolis. My background is classroom teaching. I worked also as a literacy coach for a number of years before transitioning into the role as professional learning specialist. I've had the opportunity to support teachers with a variety of Learning A to Z programs, and really happy to be here with you this afternoon. So ask questions, because we have some on the call who've never had any experience with the program. Ask away, because the more you ask and are active in your learning, the more you'll remember and want to use with your students. I do recommend that you keep a second tab open in your browser, one so you can watch the presentation, and another where you'll be able to explore the Raz-Plus site. Knowing we have a couple people on who are administrators, I'll also provide training accounts. So if any of you are on, but you don't have your own username or password, or you have it, but you've forgotten, I have those training or demo accounts you can use for this session. I did send this out to Kirsten in advance. It is a note-taking guide. If you have it, it's a good place to take notes. If not, anything that you have handy will be just fine. And there's always more to learn and always some things you want to review or come back to. This is our agenda or our goals for this session over the next a little bit less than an hour. We'll make sure that you know how to do some customization so your students will see a variety of texts, but I would say just right texts based on their reading level, interest level, etc. We'll look at resources to enhance instruction. I'll look at some primary, intermediate, as well as ELL or MLL resources. You'll have a chance to explore on your own. So I'll do a little bit of showing. Here's where you'll find some great resources, and give you the time to explore on your own what would most meet your needs and the needs of your students. And then I'll log in very briefly to show you what it looks like when the students log in, so you can see it from the student vantage point or student view. Now we're going to be live on the site almost the entire rest of our session. So and I know each of you are coming from different districts. There might be a different way that you log in through your district. Some of you may log in directly to Raz-Plus.com. Others may go through single sign-on. And so however you log in, please do. And then I'm going to pop in the chat just some of those training accounts. So when you see them, you'll see a username. It will start with the word training and then a number following. There's no spaces. And then the password right beside it, and they are case sensitive. So if you do need one of these training accounts, you'd go directly to www.raz-plus.com. You'd click on member login in the right-hand corner, type in one of the training account usernames and passwords, and log in. Now I'll wait just till I get a visual, either type in the chat that you're ready, that you're on the website, or if your camera's on, you can show me a thumbs up or use the thumbs up emoji. There are only 3 of you on, so I do want to make sure that everybody's on the website with me. Or you can unmute and say, okay, so we've got Christina's on. And I'm waiting for Rebecca and Megan. Okay.
Hi, I'm actually driving between meetings.
Oh gosh, that's okay.
But I won't be able to participate as fully. I apologize.
Thank you for letting me know that. Thank you. I appreciate it, because I don't want to get too far ahead and have somebody say, "Wait, I'm not ready."
No, you're good. I'm just trying to work as much as possible, and I'll be on.
And we do have a really small group, and I think most people will end up accessing the recording. So thank you for letting me know. Our first goal was to match students with appropriate text. And there are a couple different areas when students log in that they can access at any time. One of those is called Level Up. And Level Up would mean that each student is reading books at their instructional reading level. So just right books for instruction. And I'm going to show you how you could customize the Level Up area in a roster so that you can make sure it's accurate for each student. The reading room, think of that as a personal library for every student, where they're able to read a variety of books for interests, a variety of genres. And the difference is there might be a span of reading levels. You're able to determine that. So let's take a peek a little bit further. So the first photo I had or screenshot is primary. And by default, all of our kindergarten, first and second grade students see this motif or theme when they log in. It looks like a spaceship or spaceships and planets. When an older student, and this would be third grade and up, when they log in, it's a more mature or sophisticated interface. Now, it doesn't mean that they are necessarily reading at a very high level. It does mean that what they see when they log in will look like this. They'll see a word that says reading, there'll be a drop-down menu, and then they access their Level Up, all books at their appropriate reading level, and they'll see their reading room, and they navigate with a drop-down menu. So that's basically the difference, because we do have some older students also accessing the program and want it to look more appropriate for them. So that's just a little bit of an overview of the differences between Level Up, all books at one reading level, and reading room, think personal library for every student. And this is just kind of a review of that. Level up, students listen, and I think really important first for our younger learners and for our MLL learners, that they have an opportunity to listen to text read fluently. Then they have an opportunity to read the same text. They can record themselves reading, and there is a short comprehension quiz. Students are automatically moved to the next level once they've completed all of their assignments and have passed those quizzes with 80% or higher accuracy. And there's anywhere from 20 to 30 books that they'll be reading. So that's just a little kind of the overview or commercial about our Level Up. Think reading room, digital library. Students are reading for fun, for practice. They come back. They can also listen. They can read, and it is optional to take a quiz. And I will show you how you can turn the quizzes on or turn the quizzes off in the reading room. Some teachers want the quizzes gone because if they're reading for pleasure, they don't want their students to be obligated to take quizzes at the same time. I'm going to be showing you how to customize the reading room, and then I'll give you a few minutes as you're logged into your account to at least get started on customizing your reading room. So I'm back, I'm in my account. You know you're in Raz-Plus when you see a raspberry color navigation bar, Raz-Plus Raspberry. You also, or many of you also have vocabulary A to Z. And when you don't have to log out to log into a different program, you can log into any of your programs you have and then just use the navigation bar. You click at the top. In fact, next week when I'm doing the vocabulary session, I'll just log in and go back and forth. So vocabulary A to Z, purple navigation bar, Raz-Plus raspberry color. The areas that we're going to focus on this afternoon are resources. So we'll give you the time to explore some resources, and manage students. Manage students is where we'll learn to do some customizing of both the Level Up assignment as well as the reading room. So watch, and then I'll give you a chance to start on your own for a few minutes, and then you'll be able to ask any questions you have. First thing you'll do is click on Manage Students and go to your roster. And Manage Students area is also where ultimately you'll see reports. It will generate data based on your students' quizzes and on the work they're doing. Once you're in your roster, there's a tab that says General. We're going to move just to the right. I'm clicking on the tab that says Raz-Plus. And I see a list of students. The two areas we're looking at are Level Up. Remember, all of the books in that Level Up assignment are just right books at your student's independent reading level. So I'll just choose one student to demonstrate. This is Anna. Once I clicked her name, the navigation bar is dark blue, which means I can now edit. Now, Anna was placed at a level E reading level. So she's a young learner. She's a first grade learner. I can hover over this and see that, yes, that's about approximately first grade. Fountas and Pinnell levels, there's an alignment as well as Lexile. And there are 29 different reading levels from AA all the way to a Z2, and the Lexile range would be listed, the alignment or correlation to Fountas and Pinnell, and this would be our most fluent readers, typically 5th grade and beyond. So I'm going to come back to Anna, And if Anna has come to me from the past, she was in my school last year, came to me with a reading level, and it seems appropriate, I can just keep it there. But if Anna has really made some excellent progress, I can manually adjust her level in Level Up. Now, when she logs in, all of the books she'll see will be at a level F. She'll read, she'll listen, and she'll take short comprehension quizzes. By the same token, if the level she's at seems much too difficult, she's struggling with comprehension and decoding, I can move her back. So only the teachers are able to make those adjustments in the Level Up assignment. And if you need to do that, this is where you would go. You'd go to your roster and then the Raz-Plus tab. Second thing that we'd want to be able to do is customize the reading room. And if I uncheck Anna, right now it's light blue. I can't do any customization. As soon as I check her name, or I could check my whole class, now I can edit. The reading room is on. We want it turned on for all students because it's a library they can access 24/7. But we want to customize the reading room. And this is what I want to walk through and show you, and then give you about 5 minutes at least to get started with this. A couple things just to note is that every single resource by default is checked. And that would mean your youngest learners are going to be seeing books that are meant for much older and more mature students. Your 7th and 8th graders might be seeing alphabet books that they don't need to see. So this is where your judgment will come in. I typically want them to see level books in their reading room. I will choose books that are a little below their reading level and just a little above. It's just one way to give them a little more independence, more comfort level with the books they're reading, but still push maybe a bit. I'll include listen books, especially for those MLL learners. I usually turn quizzes off so that they're encouraged to read for fun, for pleasure, without having a quiz. I uncheck trade book quizzes. These are quizzes that you could assign individually if you had a particular trade book in your collection. I only check the fiction series for the younger learners, or uncheck and only choose the ones for intermediate or above. Graphic books are for intermediate and beyond students. The classics are typically those most fluent 5th grade and beyond readers. Nonfiction series are either geared for younger learners like Colors, My Body, Numbers, or for older learners, Trips on a Latitude Line, Government, World Landmarks, World Leaders. Anything that says Pacts and Passages, uncheck. These are all phenomenal resources, but you'll use them for instructional purposes, and then you could assign them after. Poems and songs, think younger learners or perhaps newcomers, but these are poetry, songs and rhymes, alphabet books, decodable books, all for our students who are learning to read. The only one I uncheck is shared reading. These are first used for instruction, and then you can come back and assign them later. Ignite books are for our intermediate and beyond students, high interest but low readability. So think students reading about 2 to 3 years below grade level. And I keep popular books checked and then save and close. You can also come back in and you can choose to turn Spanish books on for Spanish learners, Spanish readers, and then same with French, and there's a few other languages. So once it is set, you save and close, and that reading room has now been customized. Now, what I typically did as a classroom teacher, I would select all my students, I'd customize for a typical classroom, and then go back and individually tweak for students way above or way below grade level reading. But that's so you don't have to do it student by student by student. If you are an MLL teacher, and let's say you have a group of students all reading about the same level, you could customize just for those students and then for an additional group. So I hope that makes sense. I'm going to give you about 5 minutes right now so that you can at least get started. And if just, I'll show you the steps again. You were in Raz-Plus, Raspberry navigation bar. Soon as mine populates, you'll go to your managed students, go to your roster. Once that populates, you'll see a general tab and a Raz-Plus tab. Is there a way to preview? Well, there are, Rebecca, the issue about the books of previewing, if you are going to assign books, you're always able to preview them first. When you're choosing levels for their level up, they are automatically generated. So they'll have 20 to 30 books at that level. All of the resources have been vetted, but if you wanted a chance, like once we look at resources, if there were a particular book that you wanted to look at, I'll show you how to do that. Think Level Up and Reading Room, once they're set and customized, then it can really be hands-off for you and that students have access 24/7. But I will show you where to preview some of these books. Anything that you check today, you can change. I just want to make sure you would know how to do this so that your students are seeing the resources that are most appropriate for their interest and their reading level. So we'll take about 5 minutes. That's not going to be enough time, but it will be enough time to get you started. Everyone, one thing I would have you all do is to add a student manually, and that way you would have a student that could always be used as a demo or model student. You could put this as your teacher name. In fact, I have myself as a demo student or as Mrs. F. My first name I have in as Mrs. Friedson. You don't need a student ID. You would select a grade level, and you could select first grade, third grade, 7th through 12th, whatever that would be. And you can choose a password for your demo student. It could either be a text, a word, or it could be just a picture. And when you do that, or they'll give you directions for how to upload. But I think what you're really wanting to do is be able to have a student at least that you can practice with tonight. If you don't have students in your roster. But before you add a whole group of students manually, you're going to want to check and see what the district's expectations and your building expectations are. So I hope that makes sense. All right, take another couple minutes if you can. let's take a peek. I know it was not a long time, but I do want you to know how to do this and realize how important that will be when your students are seeing the Just Right books. Let's move into our resources. I'll give you again just a general overview of resources that are available, and then you'll have an opportunity to explore. Level text is where really the heart and soul of our program lives. There are over 2,500 different texts. That's why the question about previewing books, there's so many. But if you're looking at those fiction series or nonfiction series or the classics, they're all right here. Anything with an orange planet is a digitally assignable resource. And the nice thing about that, I'm going to get my camera back on, anything that you're looking at to support your students with social studies, social stories, SEL learning, science, math content, a lot of ways to support your students. Foundational skills is where we'll see all of those resources for learning to read, such as our decodable books, alphabet books, high frequency books. Focused instruction is typically where we'll start seeing support for comprehension, for close reading, anything that you want to really dig into with your students. There are so many different resources here. There are some writing and vocabulary support, the only ones that are digitally assignable, the one with that orange planet. If you are looking for books to support your students who speak and read Spanish, we have a lot of Spanish text, as well as some books with other languages. Just will show you how to search. And I'm going to look at just the level text to start. There are over 2,500 level text. Now you can search by Lexile, by grade level, or by those learning A to Z levels of AA to Z2. And when I kind of hover over, you get that little glance at what you're looking for. So I'm going to look at a level E book. Now there's 80 some. I can filter. I can say, well, I'm looking for nonfiction. I'm looking for books that come in a multi-level set. Now there's only two that fit that criteria. One is animals, and the other I'd like to be. You click on the book you're wanting to open, and you'll come to a landing page. This is what the landing page looks like for every single text. You have a quick thumbnail of that book. You can just look through quickly. You can print the book so students can have that to take home. You can project the book. Some of our books that come in multi-level sets mean that you can use the same content, the same cover, but at 3 different reading levels. So that makes a lot of sense with students that you might want to all be reading about the same famous person, but students at different reading levels. This comes in 3 additional languages, as well as wordless option. And with our MLL learners, I think starting with a wordless book makes a lot of sense. You'll want to go full screen. And these are the annotation tools that you'll have available with every projectable resource. There are pens, highlighters, T for text box, that's what I have here. And just wherever I click, it creates a new text box. You can type right in, ask a question, make an observation, you're not limited as many text boxes as you want. The one I had, what do you think this book will be about? You can add stars. You can add a frame which it looked like it wasn't working as it should. A frame will just show me part of the picture or part of the text. And these annotations remain until you erase them. And they'll either say, do you want to reset the page or the entire book? So what's nice about it, you can get these ready in advance and they remain until you erase them. What do you notice about this animal? I'm thinking about those learners that I'm really trying to access vocabulary and prior knowledge. What are 3 attributes of the giraffe using that math and science language? What would you like to learn? What do you already know? And then maybe later, what have you learned? So all of these text boxes I prepared last night, knowing I'd be working with you today. Where do you think this animal lives? What clues do you see? So when you're filtering for a particular book, you might want to filter for books with wordless options. And about half of our books have that wordless feature. The other resources with every text, there'll be a reading lesson. Sometimes they say guided reading. Sometimes it'll say leveled text lesson. There are vocabulary lessons that are pre-made. And then next week, if you're able to join us at the vocabulary A to Z session, you're able to edit all of the ready-made lessons to make them fit what you need. There are many worksheets. They're all optional, but any of these that are projectable, you can go full screen and you still have access to those same tools for underlining, highlighting, etc., for modeling. And then one more thing I'll show you at the very end. There are questions that are called Think, Collaborate, and Discuss. And they're typically high-level questions or questions that support various areas of comprehension. These can be used for discussion, they can be used as writing prompts, and they accompany every level text. If you also have the ELL edition, which is an additional subscription, some of our books, and I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom, there are additional resources that have been created to support English language learners. And they are designed and developed according to language proficiency levels. And this is just one of the leveled reader packs that are available with the program. If you have the ELL edition also, it would be here under add-ons and many different resources, but this was an additional subscription, so I'm not certain that all of you have access to this. But if you know you do and want to explore, that's where you'll find those specific ELL resources. Now I'm going to head back briefly into our presentation. You'll have again about 5 minutes to work. You'll look at a landing page, either for a book, a text, or any resource that was interesting to you that I briefly showed you. See what's printable, what's projectable. Make sure you would know how to assign, and I'll come back and just show you how you would assign this book to your students. So animals, I would click on the assign button. It will ask me, do you want your students to listen? Yes, I do. Do I want them to read? Yes, I do. Do I want them to take a quiz? Maybe not. Maybe this is just a book I want them to listen and read. You can always decide. I can assign this by groups that I've created in my roster, or I could assign to all my students, or I could assign just to 1 or 2 students. So you always have some options. All of our books are automatically, or resources automatically populated the minute you assign it unless you choose an assigned date. So you can create assignments several weeks in advance, but I'm going to say this one is going to be available today and until next week. And then I would say assign, and this book has now been assigned to all of my first grade students. So what you're going to do, take about 5 minutes and explore resources. Choose a text, a resource appropriate for the grade level you teach or support, and make sure you would know how to assign it. And I'm here to answer questions as you're working. I'll pause the recording so you have a chance to explore. All right, I hope you found something that was interesting, that was new, that you want to use with your students, or in the case of Rebecca, maybe to recommend to some of the teachers she works with. We're going to look at one more resource before we wrap up, and that's what will it look like when students log in. Now, the best way for teachers to model this is to, let me get my camera back on, is to actually use the section within Raz-Plus. There is a way from the teacher side that you can model what your students will see. So I'm back in it, Animals, Animals. It says Digital Preview. That's what you can use at any time to model what your students will see. So you can click on Listen, and this is exactly what students see when they log in and listen to a book being read.
Animals, Animals, written by Cheryl Ryan. There are many kinds of animals.
Well, and not every text will highlight sentences and words, but some of them do. Some are read by a fluent student reader and some by an adult. When students are reading, they have access to the tools that you have. There's a little triangle drop down. That's where they'll access their pens, their highlighters, their stamps, as well as resetting their page. Students are able to add a sticky note with a question, an observation, or answer any question that the teacher has asked. They also have access to a word journal where they can add new words or write a reflection. The teacher will see all of these student annotations when the teacher logs in and the student has completed their reading. And all of these available. The other thing students have is a microphone, and it's grayed out on the teacher side. You would have to model it from the student side. So, and then lastly, this gives just a glimpse at the comprehension quiz that goes along with the level text. And if this has been assigned, you can use this to model what students will see. All of the questions as well as answers are read to the students at the lower levels. So I do want to give you a couple minutes to practice just from the digital preview side, but very briefly, because this is new for some of you, I'm going to log in as a student so you can see what that looks like. I went to the right-hand corner, logged out. I see that green kids login. When I click on that, I see my class. There are all my students. There's Mrs. F, who I'm in as a demo student. I know that Mrs. F has a bunny. Now this looks really busy. This is a demo site, so I have all the different products. You will have reading as well as vocabulary. Here is the reading planet. If the teacher has assigned an assessment, it appears first. But when the student goes back, flight check, any assessments the teacher has assigned. My assignments would be any single assignments. And here's Animals, Animals that I assigned earlier. with the listen option. Here's the listen.
Animals, animals. Written by Cheryl Ryan.
Okay, same as what we looked at before. And the student does not get credit until they listen to all of it. Here's what it looks like when they read. The tools will appear here. Here's that microphone. And as soon as we click, it is starting to record. And so that's the really nice feature. Student had added a sticky note before, maybe with a word that he or she was working on. Anything that the student wants to do, they can highlight, they can remove their highlight. Words can be read aloud.
Mountains, mountains.
And in some cases, vocabulary cards. So these are what your students have access to when they log in and they have their single assignments. Here's what the reading room will look like that had been customized for a younger learner. So only those things that we checked and chose previously will be there for the student, including level books, a little below their level, and just a little above. And students earn stickers and stars that they can spend within the program. Here's level up. All books are at a level E. The student has to listen, read, and take a quiz before he or she will automatically be moved to the next level. So listen, read. The quiz is grayed out. They cannot take the quiz until they've completed the other two steps. And if they make many errors, they are always redirected back into their text. So it's not just a guessing activity for them. And they can do these in any order because all of these are at the same level. If you are working with those older students, I believe I have a student in who would have an intermediate portal. Let me just see what it would look like. And then here's that reading planet. There's level up. This is for an older student, but again, all books at one reading level, the student's instructional level, independent, and then they're able to read, take a quiz, and be directed into the next book. So here's their reading room, customized for an older student. There are those graphic and humor books, the classics, fiction series, etc. And then any individual assignments that had been made would appear here under individual or single assignments. So, and you can see very appropriate books for our older students. So I'm going to give you just a couple more minutes to look at the e-tools by looking at the digital preview, that orange section of one of the texts that you looked at. And then how do you think you would use these in your instruction? And then while you're doing that, I'm just going to get ready and pop in the chat link to a short survey where you can give feedback about today's session. So just spend a couple minutes looking at that digital preview. I'm going to again log out of my student account, log back in to my teacher account. And I'm logging in manually. I'm not sure how you would be logging in yourself. We'll go back to Raz-Plus. And I can go to resources. The level text that I was looking at was animals, animals. Here it is. And then just take a peek at that digital preview so you would know how you could access that and use that to model and demonstrate for your students. And then just take a minute or two as we start to wind down. All right, everyone, I know this was brand new for many of you. I just wanted to hope that your overview today gave you a lot of ideas for resources that you're excited to try with your students. What we learned to do today was to do some customization of the roster so that your students would see appropriate text. We looked at a variety of resources for primary, intermediate, for MLL, and you had a glimpse at what it looks like from the student perspective and the student experience. There are some upcoming complimentary sessions. They're called Ask a Learning A to Z Expert. I'll send the links to these sessions out to Kirsten so she can send that out to everyone. There'll be one session in January, one in February, where you can just log in, ask any questions you have about any of our programs, and you'll get answers right away. I did put a link to the survey in the chat. I'll also send it out to Kirsten tomorrow if you don't have a chance to access it today. And this just lets me know if this met your needs, if there are other or additional information that you are interested in. Next week, same time, same place. An intro to vocabulary A to Z. It'll be also from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock. And then last, this is the mission statement of learning A to Z. And this is what we hope for all your students. I thank you. Learning A to Z thanks you. The customer support information is there, so you could contact them at any time. I am going to stop our recording. Please